There's this quote by Bruce Lee in one of his interviews. If you have not watched that, एक बार देखिएगा, where he says, I think the lines are quite famous now. He goes something on the lines of वो ऐसा कुछ कहते हैं कि be formless, be shapeless, be like water, right? And you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, water can crash, etc. Right? So ऐसे कुछ बहुत ही बेहतरीन कुछ lines कही हैं उन्होंने, and his also his whole practice regimen, his whole the martial arts, what he contributed in the field of martial arts was not just a way of fighting or defending oneself, but also he has tried to uh, showcase it as a way of living, at least on a meta level, right? So that's about Bruce Lee, and then that's basically from where we get today's title, Be Water, my friend, right? So you should be able to adapt to situations the way the situations require you to adapt, right? So वो हमें आना चाहिए. Anyhow, welcome guys to the 26th episode of Daily Word Webs to Build the Cat. The route that we will be taking up today is aqua, which stands for water. So let's start. So guys, this root has its origin in the Latin language and it stands for water, as I already said. Hydro is another root that is similar in terms of meaning, which also stands for water. So guys, in many ancient civilizations, when they had to, transfer water from a far off region, water source जो कि काफ़ी दूर है civilization से, वहाँ से अगर उनको water लेके आना है, पानी transfer करना है, and across, let's say, maybe some valleys, etc., like across some uneven terrain is a word that we learned in the last episode. So across some uneven terrain, they would often have these artificial water courses जो कि bridges के अंदर रखे होंगे, right? So they'll have kind of these bridge like structures, okay, bridge like structures जहाँ पे से, I don't know ये कैसे बन रहा है ये. So the bridge-like structures which will carry, through which these artificial water courses will be created. जो ये bridge-like structures will be carrying these artificial water courses through which the water will traverse, right? वो आपके source से water जाके वहाँ पे जहाँ पे भी ज़रूरत है वहाँ पे चला जाएगा. And then these will usually be put to use whenever, when the water has to be sent across a valley or something. So excuse my drawing skills, please, but please bear with it. So that's what an aqueduct stands for. So aqueduct अगर आप देखें तो इसमें there are two parts. The first part, aqua, comes from aqua, that means water, and the second part, duct, comes from ducere, D-U-C-E-R-E, ducere, which in Latin stands for to lead something. Okay, to lead something in some direction. So aqueduct would be, so these aqueducts will basically be structures that are used to lead water in the direction or into the place that you want to lead it to, right? So that's aqueduct. And then ये तो पुराने ज़माने का में aqueduct term आपका इस तरह से use होता था. Even today in modern engineering as well, this term aqueduct is used for any system of pipes or ditches or canals or tunnels और बाकी जो भी structures हो सके जो कि water को carry करने के लिए use किए जाते हैं, right? So that's aqueduct for you. Let's okay. By the way, dossier is a very interesting term. Let's discuss a few words with respect to dossier. You must have heard of abduct, right? What does it mean? What does abduct mean? ये typical सा एक scene होता है, पता नहीं कोई भी movie या show में पुराना आप देख लो. So whenever these what do you say, dacoits maybe, or maybe जो the bad guys, whenever they are trying to kidnap someone, they'll always use this van, right? The van type का कोई car हमेशा use करेंगे, and there are so this whole act of kidnapping, for that another word that you can use is abduct. To abduct someone is to kidnap someone. Etymologically इसका meaning कैसे आएगा? Duct obviously means to lead someone, and ab basically stands for away. Ab stands for away in Latin, right? So that means you're leading someone away from where they are supposed to be, right? So abduct, that means you're kidnapping them, you're taking them away from where they're supposed to be. Another variant of this word is abduce. Okay, ये abduce उतना ज़्यादा use नहीं होता है, but however you can use that as well. So abduce also means to draw away someone or to take away something, right? So that is abduce for you, abduct for you. Dossier में से एक और term आ सकता है हमारा. Another term that we can look at from dossier is induction. Now induction can have multiple meanings. For example, एक meaning आपका जो induction का होता है is well, it's I think when you start your job, there's an induction process that you go through, right? Where you are basically kind of made acquainted with the whole the cultural and the way of working of the organization कि हाँ यहाँ पे क्या departments हैं, क्या business functions हैं, and how things go on. So the study you gradually are able to grasp how they go about doing things there. So that's the induction process. Often in colleges also you have your induction processes, right? So so that's induction. That's one meaning of induction, right? Another meaning of induction is like एक तो आपका mathematical induction भी होता है, right? So if you guys recall, mathematical induction is what we had studied, I think in high school या ऐसे कुछ में रहा होगा. So mathematical induction is when you prove something for n and then you prove something for 1, and then you can from that you can assume that if something is true for n and something is true for n for 1, then it also has to be true for 1 n plus 1. Although मैं यहाँ पे maths के अंदर नहीं जाना चाह रहा, but that's just another case where induction is used. Apart from this, there is also another use of this word induction is in terms of inductive logic and deductive logic, right? So inductive logic versus deductive logic, ये भी मैं आपको explain कर देता हूँ, and इसको तो वैसे हम लोग critical reasoning में देखेंगे. So inductive guys basically means, so for example so you see these sparks here, right? ये आपको जो sparks यहाँ पे दिख रहे हैं, let's suppose for a moment this fire was not visible to us, okay? And then after looking at these sparks, if I say that okay, I can see these sparks here, that means there is probably a fire somewhere. Okay, so what you're doing here essentially is that you probably have an effect that you can see, that is visible to you. From that effect, you're trying to induce that there is probably a particular cause, right? ये आपका cause C1 मान लीजिए, right? So there is a particular cause. That does not mean कि इसके और कोई cause नहीं हो सकते. There could probably be a cause C2, or there could probably be a cause C3, but induction does not really care about other potential causes. And inductive logic doesn't care about that. All inductive logic cares about is this connection. Okay, if there are sparks, that means there probably is fire, and hence it is kind of considered a weak form of logic. Inductive logic को आप strong logic नहीं बोलते, ठीक है? In fact, it can, अगर कोई ऐसा बोल दे कि नहीं, अगर sparks है तो fire तो definitely रहा होगा, like there is no other way, then it can be considered, without exhausting all other possibilities, then it can also be considered a flawed way of reasoning, ठीक है? फायर वाला और स्पार्क्स वाला बस मैं एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ, आप उसका एक उसका मेन जो मीनिंग मैं आपको बताना चाह रहा हूँ डिफरेंस के बीच में, वो समझिएगा. Now what is deductive reasoning? Deductive reasoning will be something on the lines of where you list out all the potential causes that there could be, C1, C2, C3, C4, आपने सारे list किए, and from them you then try to eliminate, okay, C2 cannot be the case because of XYZ reason, because of XYZ reason C2 आपका नहीं हो सकता, C4 इसी reason से नहीं हो सकता, C3 इसी reason से नहीं हो सकता, तो बचा क्या आपके पास? The only thing you're left with is C1. That's deductive reasoning. That's because you're eliminating all the other possibilities, and whatever you're left with is your answer, right? So that's deductive reasoning, and that's how it is different from inductive reasoning. By the way, in terms of vocabulary, deductive comes from docere, that means to lead, and the part in simply is in Latin stands for, well, in or within something, right? That means induct is to lead inside, as in the HR process that we talked about. चलो काफी सारे words हो गए aqueduct से आपके. Let's move on to the next one, which is aquaphobic. Now, oftentimes, if many people, if they are unfortunate to have maybe some sort of traumatic incident with water in their childhood, तो काफी बार ऐसा होता है कि वो हमेशा के लिए उनको डर लगने लगता है पानी से, right? And this fear is not just a normal fear; they're abnormally afraid of water, right? Even if they know that water in a certain region is probably not that deep, उतना deep नहीं है, ठीक है? मतलब it's just maybe 1 feet or 2 feet, even then they will not be ready to go into that shallow region of the swimming pool or something. Like you probably have some friends who fit this category, so they would be considered as aquaphobic. वहाँ पे उनको aquaphobic बोला जाएगा. From that, एक और there's another interesting word that we can discuss, which is not similar to this, but थोड़ा सा sound थोड़ा सा ऐसा करेगा, which is aquabib. aqua bib. Now I'll tell you the about the etymology of this word. You try to guess the meaning of this word, right? Now aqua is obviously stands for water. Bib basically comes from the root bibo, bibo, which stands for to drink, which in Latin stands for to drink, right? So aqua bib would mean, you wanna guess? Take a second. Aqua bib would, ऐसे सुन के तो लग रहा है कि ठीक है, someone who drinks water, right? No, it doesn't just mean that. It basically means that someone who drinks, who exclusively probably drinks water. See, there are people who are teetotalers. Teetotalers are people who don't drink alcohol and other such substances, right? But then if you take that to another extreme level, people who apart from being teetotalers also do not drink other kind of drinks, like let's say soft drinks or maybe tea or coffee or any other kind of drink. They only drink water. Then you can use this term aqua bib for them, right? So that's aqua bib for you. चलो next अगले वाले पे चलते हैं, that's which is aquifer. Aquifer is basically a body or layer of rocks that holds groundwater, right? So for example, in a particular region, अगर if there's a village and you have multiple wells in a certain region, बहुत सारे आपके एक region में आपके wells ऐसे तो नहीं बनेंगे, excuse that, they have to be slightly broad, नहीं? So if you have wells, let's say in many in बहुत सारे clustered wells एक साथ हैं, so oftentimes what will happen is like if one person or one person from the community is maligning the waters of a particular well, that actually ends up, you know, polluting the water of the other well as well. ऐसा क्यों होता है? ऐसा इसलिए होता है because they are probably deriving water from the same bank of water or from the same layer of water which is underground, and this layer of water is often known as an aquifer, right? A body or layer of rocks that holds groundwater, right? So because these wells have a common aquifer, if one starts polluting one of these wells, the whole aquifer, the whole जो पूरा का पूरा आपका ये storage है पानी का, वो पूरा का पूरा खराब होने लगता है. So that's aquifer for you. चलो aquifer हो गया. Let's look at aqua regia. Have you heard of aqua regia? हम लोग ये chemistry के classes में हम लोग पढ़ते थे. I think aqua regia was a particular solution which could dissolve the noble metals, right? Noble metals or like gold, silver, etc., right? Which are considered, which generally are not found to be reactive, but उनको भी ये solution dissolve कर लेता था, right? So and you'll understand how the etymology derives here. Etymology काफी interesting तरीके से बनाया गया है. So what aqua stands for water. Regia comes from a root that is regia itself is a root, right? R-E-G-I-A itself is a root that stands for, in Latin it stands for royal, right? So basically the water that can dissolve, it's not exactly water, it's a different kind of solution. मुझे अभी उसका chemical formula याद नहीं होगा, माफ करिएगा. But so it's kind of a liquid that dissolves royal metals, that's capable of dissolving royal metals, would be aqua regia, right? Regia comes from royal, that means metals, noble metals such as gold, silver, etc. So ये आपका aqua regia हो गया. Let's move on to the next word, which is aquamarine. Aquamarine in fact is a very simple term. इसमें ज़्यादा कुछ है नहीं. Aquamarine is basically just a color, right? So the color which is, so oftentimes water ocean में काफी बार आपको water थोड़ा सा bluish दिखता है, काफी बार थोड़ा सा green दिखता है. So this mix of this bluish, pale blue to light greenish blue जो color का जो mix होता है ना, that color is known as aquamarine, which by the way is also a precious gemstone, right? And that which also has the same color, similar type of color. So that's aquamarine for you. Aquamarine से एक और term लोग देख यहाँ पे सकते हैं, which I'm sure you have heard of, which is submarine. Now what is submarine? I think by now you can definitely, you know, guess at the way this word derives its meaning, right? Sub stands for under. Sub in Latin stands for under, and marine is another term for marinus. Marine comes from marinus, which means sea, right? Of the sea. Marine comes from Old Latin marinus, which stands for sea, of the sea. Okay, of the sea. So submarine would be basically a warship. Is basically a warship generally. अगर war वाली submarines है तो वो, और otherwise आपके civil submarines भी होते होंगे शायद. So I don't know much about that, but submarine is basically a vessel that remains underwater, that remains under the sea, right? Which is kind of designed to operate stealthily, especially if it is a war submarine, right? So that's submarine for you. So yeah, so I think that's about it so far as the words for today are concerned, and let's move on to the sentences. At this point, guys, you can pause the video and go through the sentence usages of these words, by going through these sentences that have been listed here. And as you can see, these have been sourced from some reliable sources. The credits have been mentioned here. Okay, so you can do that. Here you can again pause the video and test yourself. You just need to find the correct order of sentences which have been shuffled, so that the right sentence, is along with the right word. The words are fixed on the left side. You can also attempt this test via a Google form, the link to which has been provided in the description. So guys, here's the summary of the roots and words that we studied on a primary and secondary basis. What you can do is you can pause the video if you want and try to recall the meaning of these roots and the words that we discussed in the session today. So guys, so far as my profile and credentials are concerned, मैंने उसके लिए अलग से एक वीडियो यहाँ पे बना दिया है, जिससे कि हर बार 2-3 मिनट इसमें ज़ाया ना करने पड़े. फिर भी अगर आपको शॉर्ट में रीड करना है तो यहाँ पॉज करके you can read all of this content about me. But if you go to the video, you'll also get to see the reviews of the courses that I've conducted on other platforms in the past, right? So go on and check that out if you want. So that's about that, and यहाँ पे this link will take you to the next video. And this should take you to the very first video of the series if you're new to the session. Okay, so that's about it. See you in the next one.